Michael. Ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and please welcome Mr. Michael Edwards, Director of Outreach, where he'll be talking about, do you want to be a Rambassador? I think we all want to be a Rambassador, Michael.
Well, thank you, Chris. Well, first of all, good evening, everybody. And I just want to take a quick moment here. A couple of things. I tried my virtual background, and because I guess all of the stuff that I have in the background, it's not working. So my apologies for not having a full uniform on this evening, right? So I apologize to our audience and also to our fellow members here. But I also want to take a quick moment, Chris, to say you have done a great job these last couple of days. So kudos to you for everything that you've done. You have been the MC of all MCs, and you have really just been motivated, and you've been working a full tank for these last couple of days, and you've done a great job. And also, I want to acknowledge not only all of our presenters today, but especially the people who have been working behind the scenes to really make this happen. That's Amy Azul. That's also Dr. Ellison, Patricia Ellison, and then also Tim, and a number of other people, and also Crystal for helping us out. So thank you so very much, and thank you for everybody just for doing this and making the information available to our audience, which is our students. So I want to talk to you tonight in closing about being a Rambassador. And when you think of the term Rambassador, it's taken from ambassador, right? And really an ambassador is a person who goes from country to country, from state to state, bearing good news, right? And that's the job of our Rambassadors. So I'm going to ask you guys also bear with me. I have my grandson here. And so that is a challenge, and I think he's having his own webinar. But anyway, I will proceed. So the goal of a Rambassador is to work with the number of schools that we have a relationship with here in the high desert. And what we do is we work with those high schools and the high school counselors and painting a picture and a pathway of going from high school to your local community college, which would be Victor Valley College. And what we do is we get in front of those students and we share with them the opportunities that are found at Victor Valley College, whether it's a person wants to participate in some of our career technical education programs and get a certificate, get a trade, go into the workforce, or if a person wants to pursue their educational studies, or if they want to get into the medical program, we paint that picture for them and we kind of show them how they can actually go about accomplishing those goals. So the Rambassador's job is not only is to get in front of the student, but also to help them through the matriculation process. What does it take? What do you need to do in order to become that type of VVC student where you can have not only a successful experience, but a positive outcome with certificate in hand, degree in hand, go into the workforce and actually start doing what it is that you desire to do. So I have one of our Rambassadors who's on here, and I'm going to bring her up, and that's Lizette. And I think Lizette may be on here. I don't see her, but I'm hoping. Yeah, okay, good. Before I bring up Lizette, a couple of things that I want to share with you in regards to how does a person become a Rambassador? Well, there's a few things that you're going to need to be able to accomplish and a few things that you're going to need to be able to do in order to be a successful Rambassador. Number one, we require that you are a VVC student, meaning you have to be in school, you're registered, you got your student ID, you got your student email account, you are a legitimate student of VVC. Then we require that you have or you're carrying at least 6 units, right? And usually that'll be about 2 classes, right? And we want you to also have a GPA of at least 2.0 and be in good standing. That's important because it shows a commitment on your side, but it also shows at the same time too, that we take your studying, your learning and your commitment to the classroom, that you take it sincerely because we want you to be successful. But the desire of the Rambassador is that it allows you as a Rambassador to make some form of income while you're going to school. It allows you to put money in your pocket to be able to pay for expenses, whatever that might be, whether it's gas, transportation, books here, or just entertainment. And it gives you an opportunity to not only help other students matriculate through that process of becoming a VVC student, but it also allows you to be compensated for what you do. So a Rambassador, an ideal Rambassador, will carry 6 units, have a 2.0 or greater GPA, and that individual will work 20 hours a week. And the 20 hours that you work will basically are worked around and carved out around your schedule. So if you are carrying more than 6 units and you say, well, Mr. Edwards, I want to be a Rambassador, but I'm concerned about the hours that I'll be covering during the week, I'll make a schedule that will be doable for you and that will allow you to be able to remain successful in the classroom and finish your classes with the grades that you desire and with the grades we want to see you. So what I want to do now, as I've given you somewhat of a snapshot into becoming a Rambassador, I want to turn it over to Lizette, who is one of our senior Rambassadors, and she's been with us for a couple of years now. And I want her to share with you just some of the experiences and some of the challenges and some of the things that you can expect of becoming a Rambassador. But also I want her to share with you what the rewards are of helping someone and seeing that student, that potential student, become a VVC student. So Lizette, without any further ado, I'm going to ask you, if you would, introduce yourself to our audience and also share with them, Lizette, what your major is and what your goals are and how you've been able to kind of balance really all of this of being a Rambassador, being a student, and then also pursuing your own individual goals and what they might be, and how you've kind of gotten all that to coincide. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our audience and our members to one of our finest Rambassadors. Lizette, the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Hello, everybody. My name is Lizette Montez. I am 20 years old. I have been a Rambassador under the supervision of Michael for just a little over 2 years now. My major is social work, so I will be graduating hopefully in spring with my associates, not with only just my associates to get into social work, but I will be graduating with also an additional 2 associates, and I'm hoping to get into Cal State San Bernardino. Miraculously, I've got my first acceptance letter today into Cal State LA. I thought it was a little too early, but I was excited to see that. Okay, so as a Rambassador, I think it's really beneficial to me as a student to be a student worker, just because the schedule does work really well around my schedule. So basically how we set up the schedule is we do have my fellow Ambassador named Jamie. We send her our availability, and then from there she'll put us into the schedule. So it's strictly, so if you're too worried, like, oh, I won't have time to be able to do that and be a student, you can, because they do work around your schedule. I think that's one of my favorite things as working as a Rambassador. I think it's a very rewarding job because they're students, like as myself, I am a first generation college student, and sometimes it could be a struggle and you don't know what you're doing and how to get applied and stuff for college. So I think to me, that's why it's beneficial, because I've learned the process already, and being able to help the other students who also don't know what they're doing to their first steps to getting into college. I think that's been very beneficial to me, when people come into us and be like, oh, I have no idea what I'm doing, can you help me? And we're able to help them, and they just feel relieved. We take stress off of their shoulders. Some of the challenges could be, I know for my school that I work at, my site, they do force the students to do it. They require it to be a grade in their English classes. I know some challenges could be where students, they kind of get upset, but sometimes you just have to, like, show them that you're a student as well, and you understand where they're coming from, like being taken out of classes and stuff like that to apply. It can be hard, but just remind them that you're also a student and you're human, and you're just kind of there, to help them through the process and make it easier on them. And that, some of them do understand that and some of them don't, but I feel like that's really my only challenge as a Rambassador, is that some students can get upset. But other than that, I feel like this job is very, very rewarding, and I've enjoyed working with Michael. And we have a great team set up. We have communication. We have our group chat. So whenever we are working, we're able to communicate with one another and get a hold of one another when we need it. So yeah, we have a great team, and I've loved working with them, and I hope I continue to get to work with them.
Lizette, that's a great story, and thank you so much for sharing. I want to ask you, Lizette, what would you say to someone who, uh, two sides of this question? You've got a student who might be out there that's thinking about, well, it's been a while since I've been in school, and I'm not quite sure what to do or how to approach it. And you've got the other side of that student who's basically getting ready to graduate from high school, and they're looking at what's going on with the pandemic and doing the distancing learning. How would you encourage that student who is going to be graduating this year from high school? How would you encourage them to take that step and to commit themselves to furthering their education at Victor Valley College? That's the first one. And then the second is, what would you say to someone who has probably, stepped away from college and hasn't done it in a while, and they're kind of concerned about, can they do this? Is it doable? They're concerned. How as a student, as a fellow student and a Rambassador, what would you say to that person if you were in front of them?
To someone who's just graduating high school and maybe worried with what's happening with the pandemic, I feel like just try to tell them that, it may be hard, but if this is something that you truly want to do and you want to further your education and get your degree, that this is just a stepping stone. And I feel like it's just a stepping stone in your career. That's what I see it as personally. It's a stepping stone in my career, because this is I consider this as part of my career, because even though I'm not actually getting paid for going to school, but it's an investment in my future. So I see it as just a stepping stone in my career. And then for somebody who is like wanting to go back to school, I have personally met a few people at VVC myself, where my first semester, you know them as they were ambassadors before too. They were kind of struggling, and I just kind of was there as a support system with them, because I met them in my math class, and math isn't their strongest subject. So every opportunity we got, we would be in the math support center, and I would be there helping them through the homework. And not to get into religious, but our group was religious, and we did pray before our final, just to make sure, I guess just kind of getting people to have a support group to help them through it, because I know college can be hard. And, even sometimes now, like I'm on my third year, and even sometimes now I get frustrated, but I guess you just need to have that support system to help you through it. And even though it could be friends, people who are in college at the same time as you, or even your family who's pushing you. And like, I know I have a great support system. I consider my parents a support system, because they told me as long as I'm in school, I don't have to pay rent. So I greatly appreciate that, because I know there's some people who are struggling, that they have to pay rent and they have to do this while being in school at the same time. So that can be stressful. So as long as you have a great support system by your side, that you can do anything you put your mind to.
That's a good point, because what I hear you say is that community. It's a community within a community, and that's one of the great things about Victor Valley College. We have all of these various different pockets of communities, right? And what we've been experiencing from the leadership side, from management, and from in our leadership roles, we've been finding out that, or we've been experiencing, where a lot of these pockets, they reach across the aisle, and we're helping one another. And there's been a change of atmosphere, almost like a change. And you mentioned that, like praying, you can also say, in a sense, there's like been a change of spirit, like on the campus. And from a student's perspective, what would you say about that? Because I can say, as a director, what I have noticed, we've made a lot of changes on the campus, and a lot of those changes are towards improvement. And it's a process, because it's not always going to be perfect, but there is a community here. But I think what I've noticed, and I want to get your opinion on this as a Rambassador, you've also seen the college change. as far as how we go about rolling out policies, practices, procedures, and certain things, whether it's a caring campus initiative. Talk about that as a Rambassador. What are some of the things that you have seen Victor Valley College improve upon that we've done well, that people need to know and they may not know?
As a ambassador, I've noticed that with our outreach group that we do try to help the students out as much as we can. Like we have our virtual one stop open, so we do have our ambassadors there for help for registration and stuff like that. Because I know, like my first semester, I had no idea what I was doing, so
Mm.
I think that's why this job is also rewarding because like we're able to help students who again don't have an idea what they're doing, and we're just I guess we're creating a support group for them as well to be there for them and have counselors available, admissions and records, financial aid available throughout this whole pandemic, and physically be able to get on Zoom, and although it might not be in person, but you're able to see the counselor, and they're able to help you with whatever you may need. So I feel like just as again a support system that we maybe outside of your home from the community and the campus, and even as other students, like me, like I feel like one thing is like you need to get that support from your professors. Don't be afraid to reach out to your professors when you need the help. I know a lot of students may get like that. I know I'm the type of student where if I have a question, even if I feel it's a stupid question, I will ask because not only may I have the question, but if I have the question, somebody else may have it as well. Or like study groups, even the students, they're willing to do it. Like even now, like I'm in winter semester, we're finishing up, tomorrow's my last day, but since the first day of class I knew it was going to be a hard class, so I reached out to everybody. I said, hey, like I asked the professor, I said, hey, before we start, can I make an announcement? He was like, yeah, sure. So I was just like, hey, like if we can make a group chat so that way we could be there to support one another and just give those resources. um as a teacher, how can I help the professors to help my students? So if a student just has a question, and it's something that you may not know, then you could send them into the virtual one stop. I'm not too sure if you guys have that link, but it is on the VVC website. It's actually one of the first things that pop up when you first go there. So you can direct them to us, and then we can help them with whatever they need. And if we can't help them, we do have our representatives from admissions and records, counseling, and financial aid to be able to help them as well. Um,
I'm glad you brought up when you mentioned the virtual one stop. And that also is another rollout that the college has done to really, reach out to students that might need that extra support, right? And what some of our programs identify as high touch, and basically making ourselves available to those students. And Tim brought up the issue as in regards to how can he help the ambassadors to help his students. And I think what all of us could do is knowing where to direct people, right? Where to send them to get the help and support that they need. And that's the one thing that is really unique about the virtual one stop. And if there's anyone on here that may not necessarily know about it, what we have right now is a virtual one stop. So let me kind of share with you the how that came about and the vision behind it. So as some of you may know or may not know, but the college has a brand new building that opened up a little over a year ago or so, and it's a beautiful building. And under that roof is everything that you would need in order to be a successful college student. You've got access to admissions and records, counseling, financial aid, and other supportive services that are there, EOPS, access, and some of our other categorical programs. And what we wanted to do was to come up with a way of taking this building and still making it accessible for our audience, right? For all of our students. And that is that an individual would have access to those resources to get counseling help, to have the help and support of a ambassador, or if it was an issue in regards to their admissions and records or their financial aid or so on, whatever, we wanted to literally bring it to them, kind of like this, taking it to the streets, right? Taking our resources to the individuals and making it accessible. So I would say one of the things that um, faculty members and staff members could actually do, and that is refer people over to the virtual one stop. and let them know that it is another means of being able to help their students get the help and the support. And not only that, Lizette, the Rambassadors are not only very knowledgeable, but people sometimes forget you guys are students too, and you're very relatable. And to be able to take a student who might be struggling in English or math and say, hey, it might not be a tutoring issue, but it may just mean you need to speak with another student to get another perspective or just something. The VOS, the Rambassadors. So you guys are there, and I've listened to you guys help people who come through the virtual one stop and be very supportive of them. And we're talking about now that village and that support. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, that's one thing that I think is really helping us to really get back in front of our students. And that's very, very important. And that's the virtual one stop. And those of you who are tuning in as of right now and will be tuning in tomorrow, you can go to our vvc.edu website, and you can find all of this information and the things that we're talking about live on our website. And, it's just a number of different resources that are there that are available for you. Lizette, I want to talk about, for the next few minutes that we have left. And if there's any questions that come up that I don't see, don't hesitate to let me know. Lizette, I want to ask you a question. What has been the reward for you? What have you felt after being a Rambassador and going into our communities, our different communities here in the high desert, and helping other students, make that transition from high school to college? And you're going to be graduating, real soon. And you talked about how you're pursuing a counseling career, correct? How has that, in a sense, really kind of propelled you, for your future? What has it done specifically for you? And we talked about the aspect of, you can be a Rambassador and get compensated, right? You can work 20 hours and work around the schedule that works for you and be paid for the work that you do. But how specifically has it helped you as far as like for your desire to be a counselor? How has that kind of complemented or giving you the hands-on practice, for what your degree program is? You're actually doing something that's actually going to prepare you, and it's already giving you that hands-on skills component of it. Talk about that for a moment.
I think it's helped me in the way, just the fact that, because in social work, the field that I do want to go into is child protective services. So I guess it's taught me how to deal with different personalities and not how, because I know sometimes, like, people have our bad days, and I can get an attitude too, but it's taught me to hold back that attitude and just help them and try to help them understand what's happening and just make it easier on them. So I feel like that's a quality that I'm gonna need in social work as well, is just to, calm myself down and just explain to them and help them and figure out their needs and what they need help with, to continue my job.
That's a good point. I was thinking about when you were saying that, a question came to my mind, and I want you to elaborate on this if you don't mind. I want you to share with our audience um, the impact that the student voice has, as far as being a Rambassador. And the one thing I will always say and share with some of my associates is the student voice. And, the student voice carries a lot of weight. There's a lot of power behind it, because your opinion matters in how we govern or how we service, right? How we do education, how we do higher ed, and how we roll it out, and how we basically come up with all of these various different programs and services to empower the students. I want you, if you would, talk for a moment in regards to how you have had a voice to be able to express not only what you see, but how you feel, and how that has been, addressed and carried out. Because I think it's important for someone to realize that when you become a Rambassador, you have an opinion. Your opinion, it carries some weight because you guys are on the front line. You're the ones that's in front of the students. And a lot of the success that VVC has, Victor Valley College has, is because of the Rambassadors. That's so, so very important. And I want to say that again. A lot of the success that Victor Valley College has is because of the work and the commitment of our Rambassadors. So if you don't mind, share with us about the voice that you have, just how you can actually say something. And it is given, it's given an ear to, it's important. So can you share with that? And maybe you might have an experience, I don't know, but if you could just maybe share with how you have been vocal about some of the things you would like to see and how some of those things were carried out. And not necessarily just with being a Rambassador, me being your supervisor, but you also have been very vocal inside the classroom and Professor Ann's class, in your math class, in Ann's class. And there's a lot of things that you guys were vocal about that she carried out, because our math department, I mean, they just leaps and bounds. And not only did you have a professor that was attentive to what you were saying, but she was in front of you guys, and you guys saw, her commitment to you. So I know I'm kind of going along, but I'm just kind of excited about the question. But if you don't mind, Lizette.
Just 1 second before I answer that, I did see somebody ask, how do you apply to be a Rambassador? It's in the Q&A. So to apply to be a Rambassador, all you have to do is reach out to Michael, and he'll walk you through the steps and the process of applying. So back to the question that you were asking, Michael. I guess as a Rambassador, directly and since we are student workers, we're students, so we're hearing the needs of other students, and we do have our team meetings from time to time. And then from there, we can express of, oh, we heard this or we heard that, and I think we can do this to implement that and help these students out. Or like even in the classroom, Miss Wise, like as Michael was saying, that's how I heard about this job, was through one of my professors. It was my first semester in college, and she was like, hey, would anybody like a job? And we were like, yeah. And ever since then, I've been a part of the team, and I really enjoy it just because of the fact that we are on the front line of students. We are hearing what they need, and we're able to implement that into our job and let them know, hey, like students are in need of this or they're in need of that, so that we can implement that into what we're doing and help the students out.
That's great. That's great. Well, I want to thank you so, so very much for your openness and your willingness to share. And then I'll also put in the chat for anyone that is interested in becoming a Rambassador. What you can do is reach out to me, and I'll type in my contact info.